Let's get started. Today is January 11th, 2023, and the time is now 9:01 a.m. I'm Investigator Fora, and I'm conducting an official investigation into CCRB case number 2022-05365 on the complaint of Sean Thomas, who alleges that at approximately 7:20 p.m. on August 10th, 2022, in the vicinity of the Hoyt Schermerhorn Street subway station, located at 225 Schermerhorn Street in Brooklyn, the following misconduct occurred: force, abuse of authority, discourtesy. This interview is taking place at the CCRB and is being recorded digitally. Officer, please state your name, rank, shield number, and command.
Brewster Collier, shield 2979, command 879. What's the last one?
And your rank.
PO, police officer.
Mm-hmm. Present acting as your legal representative is?
Sam Littman, PBA attorney.
Thank you. Present from the CCRB is?
Investigator Alexander.
All right, thank you. Officer, you're being interviewed as a subject in this matter. Do you wish to make any voluntary statements?
No.
This interview is taking place under the provisions of Patrol Guide Procedure 211-14. Officer, have you read and do you understand this procedure?
Yes.
Officer, have you read and do you understand the CCRB policy statement concerning the rights of a New York City police officer being interviewed by the CCRB?
Yes.
Counsel, do you waive the formal reading of the CCRB policy statement?
Yes.
Officer, have you read and do you understand Administrative Guide 304-10, which states that absent exceptional circumstances, an officer will be dismissed from the police department for intentionally making a false official statement?
Yes.
Okay. So, officer, directing your attention to August 10th, 2022, and you can feel free to reference your memo book for these questions. What hours did you work?
It was, let me check. Let's see what they overtime. Okay, I started at 11 till 23:35.
Okay. So I'm assuming you worked overtime that day?
Yes,
Okay.
4 hours.
4 hours, okay. And 23:35 is your official end of tour?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. And what was your assignment?
Train patrol. Just
And what are the responsibilities of that assignment?
making sure the train is safe and doing like inspections at certain stops.
Okay. All right. And were you equipped with a body-worn camera?
Yes.
And when were you first equipped with a body-worn camera? So when was it first assigned to you?
It was before I left the academy, which was in April. Like April, I don't recall.
Approximately, it was 2021,
Yeah.
2021.
2022 before I left the academy.
Okay, so 2022. Okay. Okay. And did you record this incident on your body-worn camera?
Yes, I did.
And when did you last review the footage?
I reviewed it, last night.
Okay. All right. And with whom were you working on this day?
Jean Pierre, my partner,
And were you dressed in uniform or in plain clothes?
uniform,
Were you assigned a motor vehicle or working on foot?
foot.
Okay. All right. And do you have any entries in your memo book regarding this incident?
Yes.
Okay. Can you read the entry verbatim into the record?
Okay. At TPO, male black, approximately 50 years old, was observed taking pictures into the transit base through a window. When asked to stop and leave the station, male became disorderly and verbally harassed officers with racial slurs. Male was physically escorted out of the station and complained for pain to his arm with no visual injury. Medical aid was provided, and male was removed to Cobble Hill Hospital.
All right. Thank you. And can you also just read out the time and the title of it? So 911.
1920
Mm-hmm.
and 2120. So the date and time was 08/10/2022 at 1920.
Thank you so much. All right. And did you prepare any other documentation in regards to this incident?
Just a TRI.
Okay. And did you make any video recordings or take any photographs during the incident aside from your body-worn camera footage?
No.
Okay. All right. So, officer, directing your attention to approximately 7:20 p.m. on August 10th, 2022. What happened?
Me and my partner was on mail, and another officer was at the gate with him speaking and he was by himself. So when I got up to him, I turned my camera on because he was alone. And when we got there, he said that he had his hand through the gate, which you're not allowed to because there's a sign that says, no, you can't put your hand through the gate. And he said, that's what the officer told me. So he started being disorderly, saying, why the F you guys talking to me? And 3 other cops heard him, and they came out. They was doing station house. They came out, and they surround us also. And he started saying racial slurs to, like, the Chinese guy. He called the first officer a black monkey and stuff like that. And that's when I told him he was being disorderly. He had to leave the station. And then Q, which is a fellow officer, he held him by his hand to guide him out the station, and he was resisting. And I held him on his back to help him guide him out the station. When we got to the top of the station, I told him that if you come back in, you'll be arrested for trespassing. And he asked me for my name and shield. I showed him my name and shield, and I also said it. And he asked one more officers for his name and shield. And then he asked for a sergeant to come upstairs. And my original partner, Jean-Pierre, went downstairs, called the sergeant, he came upstairs, and that's all I recall.
That. And you mentioned that you were on Neal and you witnessed another officer at the gate speaking with the civilian, Mr. Thomas. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know this other officer?
Yes, he works in the command also.
Okay. And what's this officer's name?
I don't recall his name.
Okay. Were you with that officer when he approached Mr. Thomas?
He was walking in front of us, and he approached him first and said something to him, I'm not sure. And then that's when he told us he was recording past the gate.
Got it. Okay. And did you have any prior knowledge of Mr. Thomas, who was the...
No.
So, no, okay. Have you had any previous interactions with him?
No.
Okay. And I know you mentioned this gate. Can you just tell me a little bit about the layout of the subway station?
Okay, so there's the gate where he was. It was a tall gate, and then it's a sign that says you're not allowed past that. And he had his hand between the gate, recording. And there's the turnstile is right there, and then the precinct door is beyond the gate, to go inside the precinct.
Okay. Okay. So the gate divides
The
section.
precinct from the outside of the turnstile.
Okay. Interesting. And was he standing in the unpaid zone, or was he in the paid zone? For the
Unpaid zone.
Okay. All right. And other than returning from meal, what were you doing when you first noticed Mr. Thomas?
I was speaking to my original partner, Jean-Pierre.
Okay.
So we was both coming from meal.
Did you have any discussion about Mr. Thomas prior to?
No.
No. And what initially drew your attention to Mr. Thomas?
Him being disorderly, yelling at the other cop, asking why the fuck he stopping. Sorry, why he stopping him?
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned that he was recording through the gate. Did you see him recording through the gate?
The other officers told us.
Okay. Okay. And sort of just tell me about what you saw Mr. Thomas doing when you first noticed him.
Going back and forth with the officer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was doing, yelling, causing a scene.
Okay. Okay. And did he have anything in his hands at that time?
A camera that he was recording with.
Okay. Was it it was just a regular camera?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned he was yelling with the back and forth with that officer. Do you remember what he was yelling at the time?
I just remember him calling him racial slurs like black monkey or and cursing, like using curse words at him. That's all I recall.
Okay. And you mentioned that at this point he was being disorderly?
Yeah.
Okay. Sort of, what was he doing that was disorderly? I know you mentioned the yelling and the racial slurs. Anything else?
He was just yelling at the cop, and then when I walked up and my partner, he started yelling at us and calling us all types of names and just being disorderly, yelling.
Okay. Other than the yelling, was there anything else that he was doing that led you to believe that he was being disorderly at that time?
No, not that I recall.
Okay. Was he at any point like yelling at pedestrians who were passing by, like other
No,
individuals?
I don't recall.
Okay. At any point did people start to gather to observe what was going on?
There was people looking, like, while they was passing.
Mhm.
That was it.
Okay. Did anyone stop to watch?
No, just stop.
Okay. All right. And just to, so how long was Mr. Thomas in the station beforehand? Do you
I'm not sure. I just know he was there.
Okay. I just want to clarify one thing. So he wasn't inside of the actual station house, right? He was inside the
No.
subway station?
Yes, he was inside the station.
Okay. And do you know if he was inside the station house at any point prior to your approach?
No, he was never there.
Okay. All right. And the other officer mentioned to you that he approached Mr. Thomas because he was reporting through the gate. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. Did he speak with you about Mr. Thomas prior to approaching him? I know you mentioned he was walking in front of you.
No.
No? About how far in front of you was he walking?
A couple feet. I'm not sure, but he was not too far. But
We're talking about the first cop.
First cop, yeah.
yeah, a couple
Okay.
feet.
Oh, and that officer who initially approached Mr. Thomas, about how long after he initially approached him did you come and approach him?
Like, honestly, I just walked into it. Like,
Mhm.
so he was already there, and I have to pass them to get to the station. So I was probably like seconds, not even a minute.
Okay. And how did that initial officer get Mr. Thomas's attention?
If you know, did you see it? You
No.
understand his question?
No. Can you?
Did the initial, other than approaching, like Mr. Thomas, did he do anything to get Mr. Thomas's attention?
I didn't see that part.
Okay. And other than sort of being disorderly, did you suspect any criminality of Mr. Thomas when you first approached him?
The officer told us what he did, so he put his hand through the gate to
Mhm.
take like pictures. That's
Okay.
what was told to us.
Okay. And that's something that is not.
Yeah, it's not authorized in transit.
Okay. Okay. And then other than that, was there anything else other than those things?
No.
No? Okay. And at the time that sort of the first officer approached him, was Mr. Thomas still free to photograph?
No,
No? Okay. And why is that?
because he committed a violation prior to that. Like, he couldn't do it no.
Okay.
Was he allowed to photograph inside the station or take pictures inside the station?
He
I guess that's the
can,
question.
but he's not allowed to like put his hand through the gate.
Mm-hmm.
But he can take pictures outside the command, but
Mhm.
he's not allowed to pass a certain area.
Okay. Okay. So just to clarify, the issue was that he had put his hand through the gate.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Okay. All right. And sort of at that point was when he became very
Yes, disorderly.
disorderly. About how you mentioned that first that officer approached and then you walked into it. He started saying yelling at you guys as well. What was your partner doing at that time?
My partner, she wasn't saying much. She was just there, making sure everything was okay.
And you mentioned that about 3 other officers approached. About how long afterwards was it?
When he started getting loud,
When he started
that's
getting
when they came out. Because they was already outside the station. They was doing station house.
Mm-hmm.
So they came just through the turnstile.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know you mentioned that one of those officers was an Officer Q.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know the other 2?
The other 2, I don't recall their names,
Okay.
but they worked at the command also.
Okay. And when the other officers approached, what happened?
And the other 3 approached, he saw Q, and that's when he started calling Q like racial slur about him being Chinese. And then after that, I let him know that he have to leave the station because he's being disorderly. He's yelling, and then he's saying racial slurs to the officers. So I told him he had to leave the station.
Okay. And under what circumstances can a civilian be ejected from a station?
Being disorderly, not paying their fare, trespassing, like, and also doing what he was doing, like going past that point, and different stuff. I don't know on top of my head, like. So,
What is a typical procedure for ejecting a civilian?
Body worn camera on,
Mm-hmm.
and then letting them know that they have to leave the station, and if they don't leave, you have to guide them out, like let them get out the station. If they come back in, they will be arrested for trespassing.
Okay. And when you let Mr. Thomas know that he had to leave, how many times did you tell him that?
A lot of times.
Okay. Okay. And how many times did you tell him that prior to his ejection, I guess?
Probably like 3 times that he have to leave,
Okay. Did any other officer tell him that he had to leave as well?
I don't recall.
Okay. And after you told him that he had to leave, what did he do?
He basically just saying, like, I don't have to leave, I'm not leaving, and stuff like that. So that's when Q grabbed his arm and guided him out the station. He was resisting, and he was like coming back, so I guided him up the stairs, but on his back.
Okay. At any point did Mr. Thomas willingly move out of the station?
After Q grabbed him to get out the station, he started walking.
Okay. But before that point, he wasn't. Okay. And from where Mr. Thomas was standing, where was the exit to the station to the subway station?
It was like in the back of me, like to go, not too far, to go up the stairs.
Okay. So sort of, and where were you in relation to Mr. Thomas in that case?
So he was against the wall,
Uh-huh.
the gate,
Uh-huh.
and I was facing the stairs, going upstairs.
Okay. Okay.
My back was against the stairs.
Okay. So you were facing Mr. Thomas, and then you're back. Okay.
Yeah.
And then about how far away were you from Mr. Thomas at that time?
A few, like, arm's length.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And can you just describe how the exit is? Is it like a gated exit? Is it?
No, it's just just an exit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to push no door. You just walk up the stairs and get out.
Okay. Can you just describe the stairs to me, that area?
So you go up the stairs and you gotta turn and go up more stairs.
Okay. So it's 2 layers of stairs?
Yes,
Okay.
2 layers.
Okay. All right. And, okay. Do you have any questions at this point?
Yes, other than the putting up the hand through the gate, were there any other violations that Mr. Thomas committed?
No, just being disorderly and that.
And then you mentioned the trespass. How long after would he have been able to return back to the train station?
Well, he was not able to come back that day.
Oh, so any day after he could have returned?
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned that Mr. Thomas was resistant. Describe that more for me.
So Q, the officer, we was telling him he have to leave the station, and then he was saying he was going, and then Q grabbed his arm to guide him out, and he was like pulling his arms away from Q and like stepping back, and I got him up the stairs.
At this time, was Mr. Thomas still recording, or?
Oh yes, he was.
Okay.
He,
And
he had a camera recording the whole thing.
when you initially had approached him, with the hand through the railing part, was he still recording at that time as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And while you're escorting him out of the train station, what were the other officers doing at that point?
They was making sure everything was good, like for crowd control, making nobody come that way, and basically just backing us, making sure he get out the station.
And how long did it take to get Mr. Thomas out of the train station, approximate?
Like 15 minutes around that time.
Okay.
All right. And who made the decision to eject Mr. Thomas?
I don't recall if any other officer said it before I did, but
Mhm.
I said he had to leave also.
Okay. And was Officer Q the first officer to make physical contact with
Yeah.
Mr. Thomas? Okay. And sort of other than guiding him out as he started to move, you mentioned that you touched his back
Yeah.
to guide him out. Did you otherwise come to physical contact with Mr. Thomas at any
No.
point? Okay. So I guess other than helping guide him up, what else was your role in the ejection?
All I did was help guide him out and let him know that he can't come back in the station or he will be arrested for criminal trespass.
But physically, what other role did you play besides this?
That as well, yeah. Did you play any other physical
No.
role? And other than Officer Q, did any other officers come into physical contact with Mr. Thomas?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Okay. And can you go into a little bit more detail about how he was resisting as well?
Just pulling his hand away from Q, like saying he don't have to leave, and pushing back while we was in the back of him, so I helped guide him out, and basically saying he don't have to leave, why he gotta leave, and we was telling him what he did wrong, well, the other officers.
Okay. And sort of, can you describe how you guided him out a little bit more? Like, which hand did you use when you were guiding him out?
I used my right hand, but I'm not sure, like, what hand Q used.
Okay. So you used your right hand, and where exactly on his body was it?
On his back.
Okay, upper back or lower back? If you remember.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. But it's on his back.
Okay. About how long was your hand on his back?
A few seconds, like I just put it on there to tell him, like, you have to go, and then I took it off.
Okay. Did you use any, like, forward force?
No, I just, like, use, like, strength, making sure he don't fall back on me.
Okay. So you were already on the stairs at this point?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So since you were already on the stairs at this point, your hand was there, and you weren't pushing forward, is what you're saying, right?
No, it was just there.
Okay. All right. And sort of the other two officers who approached Mr. Thomas along with Officer Q were Officers Richter and Officers Walton. Does that help you recall them at all?
I don't know their name because I was in a training unit, so only Q was like a part of my training unit. So they work in the command, but I don't really like work with them. I don't know them.
I understand. Okay. I know you mentioned earlier that you don't recall whether or not any other officers came into contact with Mr. Thomas. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm just going to specifically address the allegations. So I'm just going to ask you and see if me asking you that helps you recall anything.
Okay.
Just, did Officer Richter grab Mr. Thomas at any point?
I don't recall.
Did he push him at any point?
I don't recall.
How did Mr. Thomas get from where he was standing to the exit to the stairs?
He walked at first, and then he stood there and said he was leaving and why he has to leave. That's when Q grabbed his arm
Okay.
and
And
got him out.
okay, was he already on the stairs at that point when Q
No.
grabbed him? No.
Yes, he
He was already on the stairs
Yes,
when
he
Q grabbed
was.
him. Okay. So
he
from
was on the first flight. He went up the first flight, and he didn't want to turn the corner to go up the other stairs. That's when he grabbed him.
okay. So just to clarify this then, so from where he was standing against the gate to on that first flight, he was walking himself.
Yeah, while he was saying that he was leaving, but he was walking.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "I'm not leaving. Why I have to leave?"
Mhm.
And then he started cursing words at the other officers,
Mm-hmm.
calling me a hoe, a bitch, all that,
Mm-hmm.
while he was going up.
All right. Okay. And so the first officer, the one who was walking in front of you and who approached him first, that officer is Officer Dampat. So, yeah. Did Officer Dampat grab Mr. Thomas at any point?
No,
Did he push Mr. Thomas at any point?
not that I recall.
Okay. And then did Officer Walton grab Mr. Thomas at any point?
Not that I recall.
Push him at any point? Okay. And then what was your partner's role at this point? Was she still present?
No,
No.
I don't know where she went.
Okay. So she wasn't present. She went somewhere else. Do you know when she left?
No,
Okay. All right. All right. And you mentioned that, Mr. Thomas had gone up the stairs, up the first flight, and then he stopped, and then Officer Q grabbed him, and what did he do at that point?
I'm not sure, but he just grabbed his arm and guided him out
Mm-hmm.
up the other stairs. But he let his arm go when he was walking on his own.
Okay. So did Officer Q pull Mr. Thomas up the stairs, or was it
It was like you have to get out, like walking him up the stairs.
okay?
Yeah.
Guiding him as opposed to pulling him
Yeah.
is the question.
So he held on to Mr. Thomas's arm while Mr. Thomas walked himself? Is
Yeah.
that correct? Okay. All right. And other than just standing still and turning, what else was Mr. Thomas doing, if anything?
Recording?
Recording? Okay. Which arm was, do you know which hand he was recording with?
No.
Okay. And when Officer Q grabbed him, which arm did he grab?
I'm not sure. Which arm was it?
Okay. Was the arm that Mr. Thomas had his camera in?
No, he held the other hand.
Okay. Was there any verbal interaction between Officer Q and Mr. Thomas?
Just him saying racial slurs to him the whole time.
Okay. Did Mr. Thomas at any point tell Officer Q to not touch his camera?
No, he didn't touch his camera.
Okay. So you're saying Officer Q didn't touch Mr. Thomas's camera?
No, just his arm.
Just okay. Did Mr. Thomas complain at any point about an officer touching his camera?
No.
No. And did Officer Q say anything to Mr. Thomas
At what point as they're walking up the
as they're walking up the
stairs?
stairs?
I'm not sure about that, but
Okay.
I just know he held his arm.
Okay. Specifically, at any point did Officer Q tell Mr. Thomas get the fuck out?
I don't remember that part.
Okay. At any point did Officer Q use any profanity when speaking with Mr. Thomas?
I don't remember that.
Okay. I know you mentioned that Mr. Thomas had asked you for your name and badge number, and he asked one other officer. Do you remember which other officer it was?
The first officer.
Okay. The first officer who had initially approached him?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Officer Dampat.
Okay.
And at what point did he ask for that information?
When we was out the station
Okay.
at the top of the stairs.
Okay. Did he request any identifying information while you guys were in the subway station?
No.
Okay. And if he, sorry. Okay. Did he ask Officer Q for his identifying information at any point?
No.
Okay. Did Officer Dampat provide his name and shield number to Mr. Thomas?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Did any other officer, other than you and Officer Dampath, did any other officer provide their identifying information to Mr. Thomas?
No, he didn't ask anyone else. He just asked us.
Specifically, did Officer Q provide his identifying information to Mr. Thomas?
He didn't ask for cues.
But did Q provide it?
No, not that I know.
Okay. And sort of after someone's ejected from a subway station, are they allowed back in?
No.
Okay. What is a typical procedure for dealing with an individual who attempts to re-enter the subway station after being ejected?
They get arrested and be charged with criminal trespass.
Okay. Did Mr. Thomas attempt to re-enter the subway station at any point?
No.
No? Okay. And are officers allowed to use force to prevent an individual from re-entering the subway station?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hypothetical in this situation, but she answered it.
Okay. And could Mr. Thomas have been arrested at any point during the incident?
Yes, if he entered back into the train station, but he would be charged with criminal trespass.
Okay. And that's only if he had succeeded in entering?
Yeah.
Okay. Could he have been arrested for attempting to enter the subway station?
We was all standing there, so he wasn't, unless he pushed us, that's how he would be able to get in.
Understood. Okay. Okay. And earlier you mentioned that you told Mr. Thomas that he would be arrested for trespass if he tried to.
Yeah, I told him that.
Okay. And what led to that?
It's usually a procedure you tell them when you eject them from the train station.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta let them know
Okay.
before they actually does it.
Okay.
You have to let them know.
Okay. All right. And you mentioned that on the street level, there was an ongoing interaction. You guys were standing there. Mr. Thomas was there. What was going on? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Just him arguing with us and calling us names, being racial, and then after that he asked for a sergeant to come upstairs.
And did a sergeant eventually arrive?
Yes.
Okay. Which sergeant was it?
I'm not sure of his name, but that's when I saw my partner because she went downstairs and got him.
Okay. Okay. And to your understanding, what's the policy for when a civilian requests an officer's name and shield number?
Yeah.
What was that?
You asked if I understand the procedure.
To your understanding, what is the policy for when a civilian asks for an officer's name and shield number?
Oh, you give it to them. You give them your name and shield.
Okay. Does an officer have to provide their name and shield number immediately upon request?
Yeah, you gotta tell them
Okay.
once they ask.
Are there circumstances under which an officer does not need to provide that immediately?
Depends on the officer, I guess. What are you
I'm
asking?
Are there circumstances in which an officer does not need to provide it immediately?
That's.
I mean, no, you just give it to them.
Okay. Other than, you mentioned that you and the other officers were standing in a line. Were you blocking Mr. Thomas's path back into the subway station?
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, what else did you do to prevent him from re-entering the subway station?
He was just standing there filming
Mm-hmm.
us still, and we was just standing there. He was asking for our shield and name and like us too, and he was just arguing, and we was just standing there after.
Did he approach you at any point? Did he walk towards
Oh,
you?
he did. He came in close to my face with the camera, and I told him he can't. He's too close.
Okay. Did you do anything with your body at that point?
No, I just put my hand up like that,
Okay.
telling him he too close.
About how far away from you was he?
He was literally right in my face with the camera.
Okay. Are civilians allowed to record officers?
They can, but not in their personal space.
Okay. And sort of, can you talk a little bit more about personal space? What is that distance, if you know?
Like an arm's length. He gotta be an arm length away. He wasn't.
Okay. All right. And did any other officer do anything physical to prevent Mr. Thomas from re-entering the subway station?
No, just standing there, making sure he don't.
And did you push Mr. Thomas away from the entrance of the subway station at any point?
No,
Did Mr. Thomas attempt to physically interact with any of the officers at any point?
What does that
Put-
mean?
Put his hands on them or anything like that
When he was up on top?
when he was up on top?
no, he was just in my face with the camera. That's it.
Okay. All right. And did Officer Walton tell Mr. Thomas at any point that the officers would continue to put their hands on him if he tried to go downstairs?
I don't recall that,
Um,
but that's the procedure. Like, you would have to put your hands on them to, like, arrest them.
And that's when he asked for the sergeant, right? Was on
Yes.
top, and that's it. Okay.
And you mentioned that you sort of put your hand out when he was recording you very close to your face. Did you make any contact with the camera at all?
No, I didn't touch the camera. I just said you're too close.
Okay. And what did Mr. Thomas do after that?
Well, the first officer told him to back up. He's too close,
Mhm.
also, from me, and he backed up.
And did that first officer, Officer Dan Papp, did he push Mr. Thomas at any point on the street level?
No.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions at this point before I
No
show?
questions.
All right. I'm just going to show you some PWC footage just to help you see if it helps you recall anything. I am playing Officer Brewster Collier's DWC footage attached to I-57 case file, starting at the 0-second mark. So this officer over here, who is this officer?
My partner.
Your partner? Okay. Earlier in the interview you mentioned that the first officer who approached was walking in front of you. Do you see that officer right now on the screen?
No.
No, okay. All right. I'm just going to press play for a little bit. Pausing at the 13-second mark. Who is this individual standing over here?
Sean Thomas.
Okay. And at this point in time, can you see what he's doing?
He was recording.
Okay.
Through the gate.
Okay. And at this point in time, are you able to see, is his arm through the gate at this point, recording?
You can see him.
But do you have any independent recollection first of him sticking his arm through the fence at this point, through the gate?
No, the first officer saw him.
Okay. All right. And then, so outside of your independent recollection, from what you're able to see, can you see whether he had his arm through the gate at this point?
On this,
On the footage.
on the
Yeah,
body
he
cam.
had his arms like is that the left?
Mhm.
In between the gates, recording with his camera.
Okay, so you're saying that this arm over here, this left arm, is that
Mhm.
it over here is through the gate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Recording.
Okay, I'm gonna press play, keep on going. Okay, I'm pausing at the 17-second mark. Do you know what's going on over here right now? Does it help you recall what happened?
I was past. Yeah, I passed him, and the officer was like in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Danforth you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Okay. And then what was he doing?
Who?
Dan Papp.
I'm not sure what he's doing in the back.
Okay.
I was talking to my partner.
Okay. I'm gonna press play. I'm going. Okay.
That's when they started.
Pausing at 23 seconds. Yeah. Okay. What was that? Sorry.
That's when he was in the back
Mhm.
talking to him,
Okay. Okay.
and I stopped.
Okay. All right. Does this help you recall about how Officer Dampath got Mr. Thomas's attention?
No, because he was in the back of me. Like, he was a few feet away talking to him.
Okay.
And I was actually talking to my partner, so I didn't really hear what he said.
Understood. And just press play up until the audio starts to see if this helps you recall anything.
Okay.
So if you're able to recall any of the interaction that occurs before the audio starts, let me know.
Okay.
Okay, I'm pausing at the 56-second mark. That interaction that we just saw, where there wasn't audio, is that what you had mentioned earlier about?
Yeah, them speaking.
Did this help you recall did seeing the footage help you recall any specifics that were said during the interaction?
No, he was just telling him to SMD. I don't know if you know what that means.
You can say it. It's for the record. It's
Yeah,
totally
suck
fine.
my dick.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mr. Thomas was telling Officer Dampath.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
after he told him.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm just gonna try this back for a second. Play some other footage for you. Okay. I am actually just gonna. Let's see if I can use your.
Before we move forward, do you recall seeing any officer use a flashlight to get Mr. Thomas' attention?
At any time?
When first walking up to Mr. Thomas, did you remember?
No, because my back was turned. I was talking to my partner, so I don't really know how he stopped him.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'm now going to play Peel Walton's footage, also attached to IA 57 of the case file. Okay. From 139, and there will be audio as well.
I'm sorry, whose body cam is this?
Officer Walton.
Okay.
WALTON.
Okay.
Unmute and press play. Okay, I'm pausing at 1 minute and 52 seconds. At this point, first, do you see yourself in the footage?
Yes.
Okay. Was this the point at which you told Mr. Thomas that he had to leave? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then do you know this officer over here?
I mean, he works in the command.
Okay. So do you recognize the officer?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna press play. Pausing at the 1 minute and 56-second mark. Does that help you recall any physical interaction between Mr. Thomas and other officers?
Yeah, I didn't remember he did that.
Okay. So you don't have any independent recollection of this?
No,
But
I just remember Q.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna keep on pressing play so we can play through this.
Just off your hands off and walk up the stairs like you. Alright?
Pausing at 2:07. Has watching this clip help you independently recall any physical contact between other officers and Mr. Thomas?
I don't remember, but the only person I remember was Q.
Okay.
But yeah.
And I'm just gonna keep on pressing play.
Let's go.
Pausing at 2:14. What was that?
That's Q.
Okay. And this is
Is
the
it?
part that you remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm grabbing his hand.
Okay, I'm gonna keep on pressing play so we can play a little bit more.
And that's when I touched him. That was the only time.
Okay. Pausing at 2:20. So you're saying that just now was the only time that you touched him?
Yes.
And then that touch is consistent with what we said earlier.
Yeah.
That was just you guiding
Okay.
forward? Okay. All right. I'm going to press play.
So you can see my food right there. I was on meal.
Pausing at
That
2:26.
that white bag
Yeah.
is your food.
Yes.
Okay. Just for the record.
Okay. All right. And okay. I'm going to play a different body on camera footage as well right now. Do you have any questions about the footage that I just showed?
Yes, watching that footage, do you recall what hand Officer Q grabbed for Mr. Thomas?
I don't even remember. I don't even seeing it.
Oh.
And did that help you independently recall any complaints by Mr. Thomas that officers were interfering with this recording?
His recording.
His
Mr.
camera.
Thomas's,
Oh.
his camera. Did you see anybody interfere with his recording independently first? Did you see anything? Independent recollection?
No.
Does that refresh your recollection after seeing that?
And I can replay the section where he says that if you want me to right now. If that might help.
Okay.
Let me. I'm replaying Officer Walton's footage from the 2-minute and 14-second mark.
Okay.
I'm pausing at the 2
Yeah,
minutes.
he wasn't touching his camera. He was just like
Well,
trying to get him out.
Okay. You didn't see him touching the camera.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say, just for the record, just because he said it doesn't make it true.
And did you hear at this point, does this footage also help you independently recall whether or not Mr. Thomas requested the name and badge number of any other officer besides you or Officer Dampat?
That's not when it happened. It was when he got all the way up.
Okay. Did you hear in the footage just now Mr. Thomas saying what's your name and badge number?
No.
All right, I'm going to play it back from 14 seconds. Pausing at the 2-minute and 17-second mark. Did you see that?
Yeah, I
Did
see
you hear
that.
that? Okay.
That's when he was talking to Q, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was to your understanding, this was a request to Officer Q.
Yeah.
Okay. Does this help you recall whether or not Officer Q ever provided his name and badge number to Mr. Thomas?
I don't know.
At this point,
No, I don't.
did he stop and say, "Here's my shield"?
No.
Do you recall at any point whether or not after this, Mr.
I
Officer
don't
Q
recall.
provided?
I don't.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on the footage?
No.
All right. I'm going to play your BWC footage again from the 2-minute and 10-second mark. Sorry. 2-minute and 17-second mark. It's also attached to I-57 case file, as stated earlier. We press and play right now. Pausing at the 2-minute and 23-second mark. Did you hear any officer at this point use profanity towards Mr. Thomas?
I wasn't paying attention to that part.
Okay.
I was just looking.
An independent recollection, no one used profanities during this situation. Any cop, you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. I'm gonna play it again. I'm just gonna pause. Or I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna pause right after it's said. Okay. Okay. The 2-minute 23. Did you hear
All
an
I
officer
heard was
say?
fuck.
Okay.
I
Do you
don't
know
who said it?
You don't know who said that? Okay.
No.
So you don't recognize that voice?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then hearing that hasn't refreshed your independent recollection. Okay. All right. Any questions about this footage?
No questions yet.
You don't ask questions.
Not you.
I'm going to continue playing your footage from the 3-minute and 2-second mark. Let's just say the 3-minute mark
Okay.
right now. All right.
I told you, you come back, you're gonna be arrested. Fuck you, ho. All right, Charles. Fuck you, ho. All right. You trying me. Go ahead.
Okay, pausing at the 3-minute and 8-second mark. Was that what you stated earlier? The telling him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And at that point, you stated that it was a warning, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he was not attempting to re-enter the station at this point.
No.
Okay. All right.
I think you just said fuck you, right? Okay. No, just for the record, I think the fuck you was made by Mr. Thomas.
Oh, at this point,
Right,
yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point.
All right. And all right. Any questions about this footage?
Not yet.
Do you want me to keep on playing this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell Chris to come over. Get your lieutenant up here.
Who are you?
Get your lieutenant up here. I'm telling you, get your lieutenant up here. Hey, yeah, get your...
Pausing at the 3-minute and 31-second mark.
I remember you said your partner went and got the sergeant for this. Was your partner at this time on the road level with you?
No, she wasn't there as yet. He asked for the lieutenant, and then he also asked for the sergeant later on.
Oh.
And you mentioned that you saw your partner come up with the sergeant. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall your partner ever being on the street with you? On the street level with you?
No, I didn't see her.
Okay. All right. Just to clarify that. Do you want to keep on playing this?
Yeah.
And actually, just keep on playing this one.
Lieutenant up here. That's right. Go get your lieutenant up here. Yeah.
I'm gonna pause 336. What was that?
I said, oh, Q went.
Q.
Yeah.
Also, sorry. I know that this incident occurred in August. At this point, how long have you had your? How long were you out? Like, how long were you? When did you leave the academy?
Like April, and that happened in August.
Okay. So at this point, you were 4 months into your
Yeah.
service. Okay. All right. And at what point is an officer's shield number assigned to them?
In the academy.
In the academy? Is it in the academy or after graduation?
It's before like a day before like 2 days before
2
graduation.
days before graduation. Okay. So at this point, you had your
Yeah,
badge
I
number
had-
for about 4 months.
Yes.
Okay.
I need that. What's your name and shield number, you piece of shit? You are a piece of shit. You come from pieces of shit. You are a piece of shit. Your mom was a piece of shit. Your father's a piece of shit. That makes you a piece of shit. So what's your name and badge number, you piece of shit? And you cunt. What's your name and badge number?
That's not my name. That's not my name.
I'm asking you your name. Tell me your name so I don't have to
My
keep calling you an
name is
ignorant cunt.
Brewster. That's my name.
Your name is what?
Brewster. It's right here.
And your shield number?
2979.
Okay. I'm pausing at the 4-minute and 13-second mark. Do you also go by Officer Brewster?
Yes.
Okay. What is the name that's on your nameplate?
Brewster Collier.
Okay. And at this point, why did you provide Brewster to Mr. Thomas as opposed to Brewster Collier?
Because it's both my names.
Okay.
Like, that's the name they use in the station.
Okay. As stated earlier in the interview, your badge number is 2979. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, you say, going back to the 4-minute 10-second mark, I'm just going to replay this.
And your shield number?
2979.
Pausing at the 4-minute and 13-second mark, you say 72979. Why did you say 7 initially?
I was a little bit, confused.
Okay.
It was just a mistake.
Okay.
And just for the record, Mr. Thomas is taking pictures of all the officers, their names and shields.
Noted. So at that point, it was a mistake, is what you said, right?
Yeah, and then I correct myself, 2979.
Okay. And did you intentionally say 7?
No, because there's a 7 in there, so I got confused and said 7 first.
Okay.
I was just getting used to since I just graduated.
Mm-hmm.
I was just getting used to it.
Okay. And, okay. All right. I'm just going to turn this back. And I have, I believe, one more clip to show you. Sorry, did you have any questions about the footage that we just saw?
No, I just have a question from the initial interaction. You mentioned that Officer Q and two other officers approached Mr. Thomas as well. I just wanted to know if you had saw Officer Q at any point activate his BWC.
If you know.
If you,
I'm not sure, but I think they activated when they came out.
okay,
Station.
okay, thank
When
you.
you're not sure, you just
Yeah.
think that they did.
Thank you.
All right. I'm just going to turn this back to you. This is Officer Walton's footage again, attached to I-57 of the case file, starting at the 5-minute and 31-second mark.
Go put your hands on him. Put your hands on him. You're going to see it. Put your hands on him.
Pausing at the 5-minute and 46-second mark. Does this help you recall any instances of Mr. Thomas trying to re-enter the subway station?
Yeah.
Okay. So what does this help you independently recall?
Huh?
What does this help you recall? Like, has this helped you recall recall anything?
Well, I
Me
think she
too.
already testified that he tried to go back into the station,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So,
Okay. That might be my misunderstanding thing, because I thought that she testified that he did not attempt to re-enter the subway
oh, I
station.
thought she said that he did. Did he try to get back in, or didn't he?
At that point, he did, and I
Okay.
let him know he can't.
Okay. Okay. And at this point, did you make any physical contact with Mr. Thomas?
No, I just went in front of him just to let him know that he can't.
Okay. I'm just gonna go back to the 30-second mark. Okay, I'm pausing at 5-minute and 35-second. Does that help you recall any physical contact that you made with Mr. Thomas? I'm actually just gonna try to go back a few frames.
Tough from that angle.
Yeah. Does that help you recall any physical contact that you made with Mr. Thomas?
That's a tough view. Can you see from that angle? Just the body cam footage.
I don't recall like
Okay.
using physical force or anything.
Okay.
And just for the record, lunch is still in her right hand.
Noted. Okay. So from here, it looks as though your left arm is coming into contact with Mr. Thomas's right arm. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That's your opinion of what we see. I don't know.
The
It
officer-
doesn't.
the
To
officer-
me, it doesn't look like it. It looks like there's space between her arm and.
All right.
But
Well,
she's, you know what?
I'm just gonna go.
She's already testified that they were trying to keep him out of the
I understand
station.
that.
So
I understand that.
Does it look like you had your arm?
No, I didn't
Making
push
contact?
him or nothing.
Okay. So you were saying that you didn't push him at any point, right?
No.
Okay. All right.
He like did that to me.
Okay. He did what to you? Can you just? It's an
Right.
audio recording, so I just want to get.
He like used his hand to like push me a little bit.
Okay. Okay. So he used his arm to push you.
Forearm, more, right?
Okay. All right. Okay. So pausing at 5 minutes and 36 seconds. Do you have any questions at this point about that?
No questions.
Okay. All right. And I'm just going to jump a little bit forward to 5 minutes and 46 seconds. In the same BWC recording. I'm going to press play from the 5 minutes and 46-second mark. Okay. Pausing at the 5-minute and 49-second mark. Is that what you testified to earlier? That.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than trying to get some space, was there any other reason why you blocked, why you raised your hand at that point?
No, just let no. He's too close to me.
Okay. And at this point, did you attempt to block Mr. Thomas's recording at any point?
No, just.
Was this before or after you gave him your shield when he took a picture
It
of
was
your
after.
shield? Okay.
Okay. And sorry, just to make sure it was clear, at this point, did you attempt to, were you attempting to intentionally block Mr. Thomas's camera?
No.
Okay. All right. All right. Pausing again at the 5-minute 51-second mark. Does that help you recall any physical contact between Officer Dampath and Mr. Thomas?
I didn't recall the physical. I just knew he stepped in to tell him he was too close to me.
Okay. Okay.
And based on what you just saw, was that the physical contact with Dampath and Mr. Thomas there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
And what you saw and heard, it was more of a space thing
Yeah.
than anything else.
All right. Do you have any final questions at this point?
Yes, after after putting your hand up, how long after did the sergeant arrive?
He was actually in the back, if you can see
Okay,
it.
that's the sergeant. Okay.
All right. I'm going to review my notes and see if there's anything else I need to ask you.
Okay.
I just want to go through some of the allegations, just to make sure that for the record. At any point, did Officer Dampath shine his flashlight in Mr. Thomas's eyes?
That you saw.
I didn't see because my back was turned.
At any point, did Officer Dampath attempt to interfere with Mr. Thomas's recording?
I was actually like walking past him, so I didn't know like what went on for the few seconds until
So
I
for the
turned
record,
back around.
you don't know because you didn't see. Okay. Okay. And check. I believe I asked you this already. Check. Okay. I think I have everything. Any final questions?
No.
All right. Have you told me everything that you remember regarding this incident?
Yes, I did.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No.
This interview is now concluded. The time is now 10:03
Does the
a.m.
department have regulations with regard to the filming within precinct houses?
Well, the policy applies to all NYPD facilities.
Well, okay, as to that, but how about the immediate vicinity thereof?
Do you mean like the outside?
Yeah.
No, not to my knowledge. And I think that there would be constitutional questions about recording outside on sidewalks.